Hi, my name is Jennifer Wally, and I'm doing the wooden LED lamp project for Genius Hour. So, this project I started to do and I wanted to do because I felt this sort of need to help myself in life because every time I'd be doing homework, every time I'd be doing something late at night, I'd just have this bare bulb lamp, super dim. Everything just seemed gloomy around me. I was tired. I just wanted to go to sleep. The work obviously wasn't the best. And I would look over to my brother's room and it had, different colors and everything. And I would just walk in there for a little bit and get a different mood and then come back and finish. And so I thought, okay, what if I do this, but in a different way that I don't have to do LED strips all around my room? What if I just make something accessible like an LED lamp? And I thought, there's some online. I could have ordered one online, but those are pretty expensive and not the best quality. So I thought, okay, if I learn how to do this, I can make it for myself and I can sell it to other people for a cheaper price than they would find other places. And that's really why I did this. And honestly, it has helped. Even the days that it wasn't working yet, I was able to kind of get myself going because I knew that there would be a day that I had this and it would be so much easier and kind of for my mood and on my mental state to finish my homework, do my homework late at night. And so when I started, it was basically just me going in my backyard, finding some scrap wood and purchasing some LED strips. Um, at first, I tried different planks, different all this kind of stuff, and it just wasn't working. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with the design, how I wanted to make it. But I ended up finding some wood like this around my house, or around the back of my house, and I thought, I can just stack them up together. Lamps are unique, they're not supposed to be just one thing. And so then after that, I grabbed a Dremel and I cut into the wood to make sure that the LED strips had their own secure place to sit. So you see there's an incision here, and that's where the LED strips go. So that was probably the most difficult part of this entire project. That took me about 4 weeks on end, maybe 5 weeks on end, just trying to get the Dremel. After a couple hours, I'd only be done with two sides of one plank, and my hand would be cramping. It was difficult because it was tedious, and sometimes the drill wouldn't work the way I wanted it to. Sometimes the grain of the wood would stop the Dremel. It just wasn't working well. But I did overcome it at the end, and I was able to make these nice incisions, and the work was worth it because it looks so much better than just sticking LED lamps or LED lights on a lamp. It looks so much better. And so along with this, I've been continuing this project into other things. So another thing that I had to do for the LEDs is solder. I had to solder these wires together to the LED strips because they don't turn at 90-degree angles or 180-degree angles. They don't turn that way. They will break. So I had to get these wires to go ahead and do that. And here at the end of the video, I'm going to put in about a 5-minute clip of me talking about my experiences soldering, and when I was there, you'll be able to see it, you'll be able to see what I went through, and I'll talk about more. But that's something I had to do. And in the continuation of this project, I'm probably gonna use this again to make more lamps, and as well I've used it in multiple places. I've used it in my room because I put one LED strip up, but I didn't want to bring it all the way down from the corner of my room, so what I did instead is I cut it, I put this wire, and I brought it all the way down instead of having the light down because I wanted to maximize the use of the LED strip. So that's kind of where it goes from learning skills and learning my and going on the continuation of this project. As well, I learned about soldering, and immediately after I got done with this lamp, I went on and built this little kit that I've had in my room for years that I just didn't know how to solder correctly. Just little things like that, like I picked up that I would have never gotten anywhere else other than this project. So that's what I'm really thankful for. And that's one of the things that I've gained, is just knowledge of soldering, of how to get around different obstacles that you see. And so now on to the specific goals that I'd placed for myself throughout this project. The first goal was to be able to understand the tools, materials, cost, and the time needed to build an LED lamp within 2 weeks. So I wanted to get the understanding done within 2 weeks. I think I did, because I got the materials. It took me maybe a week to understand it, so I did still do it in the time frame. Goal 2 was to be able to cut wood to the shape needed for the LED lamp within 2 weeks of when I start the process. So I didn't do it at the very beginning. Once I started the process, it was, like I said, it took about 5 weeks to get it done. So I didn't necessarily meet that goal specifically time-wise, but I did meet it at the end, because, you know, all these incisions here. Goal 3 was to have the ability to fuse LED lights where needed to have them fully functioning in the lamp within 5 weeks of starting this piece of the project. I was actually able to do the soldering piece in 2 weeks. It took me way less time than I thought. Goal 4 was to bring the lamp to look and work at store quality for cheaper within 2 weeks once the lamp is functioning. So I guess I kind of went around this goal, but I did stain it. But it is to store quality, because I've messed around with it. I've accidentally dropped it. I've done all these different things to it, and it hasn't broken. It hasn't faltered. And at points there was times when it faltered, but I went ahead and I fixed it. Like before, this had one more layer on top of it. Then you see 3 stacks of wood. At one point it had 4, but the 4th row made everything wig out. It wasn't showing correct colors, all this stuff. So I ended up having to make the decision to take it off and stray from my original vision to make it work and make it meet this goal. And then my 5th goal was to make the lamp fully customizable, unique, functioning, and have plans to be able to build it again by the end of the project. So it is functioning, it is unique, it is all the things that I've listed. You wouldn't be able to see right now because it's in the light, but this does work. It has all the colors that you have on a remote. It works all those ways. And I do have plans to make another one. I can make another one exactly like this. That would be way too much work though. But now I know that I can just go to a craft store and buy different sized pieces of wood and be able to do it like that. I have the plans. I've met this goal. So I pretty much met every single goal except for goal 2. I didn't meet it in the time frame, but I did meet it at the end of the project. So when it comes to the grade on this project, I feel like it's very hard to put a grade on the work you did, but based off of the goals, based off of everything that I've done, I think I should get at least a 3.7 to possibly a 4, because I did accomplish all of the goals well before the time that this Genius Hour was done. You know, I've had this lamp done since Genius Hour week 7, I want to say. The only thing that I think would maybe bring me down from a 4 is that not meeting the goal 2 in the scheduled time frame. But of course, I met all the goals. I adapted. I overcame different obstacles. I didn't give up. I put this project first a lot of the time, because this project was really important to me, and I think that the effort and quality that I put into this, I spent well over 10 hours on this project. Just with even the wood part, I'd say I spent maybe 10 hours on that. The soldering was another 3. Spent a lot of time on this project, a lot of effort, and although I guess some people wouldn't say this doesn't look the nicest, I'm very proud of it, and it is something to me that shows what I can do if I put my mind on it. And as well, not even talking about grades and goals, this project was very important and special to me because I want to be an engineer, and this was kind of like showing me, okay, what are the types of things that engineers do? What are things that they can accomplish? And this was really special to me because it showed me that, and I was able to figure out that, yeah, engineering is something I want to do. This is something that I would like to continue for the rest of my life if possible. And so that's why I feel that I should get a 3.7, 3.4, or a 3.7 or a 4, because I've put a lot of work into this. I met my goals. I did all the tasks when needed. I took creativity and I made it into something that I said I would. And I feel like that deserves a good grade. But other than that, this project, like I said, has been very, very special to me, very important. And it's made me happy when this school year has kind of sucked. It hasn't been the best, but it's been good. Okay, so here I have all of my tips already soldered. What it is I just put a little bit of this on the soldering iron, then touch it to these wires because I need to solder, where is it? This strip of LEDs to them. So I'm gonna take some more solder, touch it to the iron, then touch it to these little copper plates. It won't focus. There you go. These little copper plates right there. Then get these, put them where they go. The black is the 12 volt, and then green, red, blue. These wires came together, so it was actually kind of easy, but then you have to separate them a bit so you can get all the connections in. And then from there, I think I'm done. So these are some previous ones I've done. I have heat shrink over the rest of them because they're delicate at first, and I wanted to put the heat shrink as soon as I could over them so that the wires wouldn't move or mess with the LEDs, because I found out that every little movement in these wires can cause the LEDs to not show up some colors or only show up white or anything like that. And it's, along with these, I've also done multiple of these. This one is from the LEDs itself. It came like this, but I have done that as well different times. One strip wasn't working, but another was. Here's mine. And the reason I'm using these wires is because on this lamp that I have, as you can see, that's where the wires go and everything. The LEDs don't turn up at angles, or at sharp angles, and they will break if you try to make them. So that's why I need these wires. Getting some pliers so that I don't burn myself on accident. Let's see. Looks like it can use some more solder, so we'll do that. A lot of the times it's too little solder that I put on there, so I just gotta go back and put some more on there. It's not that big of a deal. There we go. And then the wire to the copper. Or I guess I don't know if it's copper, but it looks like a copper plate on the LEDs. Okay, and just hold it there a couple seconds until it's firm. So I have the LED already put solder on. All I have to do is put some solder on the iron, lightly go almost touch it with the soldering iron, but actually all it falls off is to the solder onto the LED little plates. And then same here with the wires. You can actually touch the soldering iron with the wires though, so I did touch that. So now all I'm doing is placing the wire on top of where it's supposed to go. There we go. And then touching it to the wires. And it puts a little solder on there. This is taking me longer than expected, but it's also a better quality than I would have ever hoped for. So as you can see, I just got this blue solder done. The other wires have their solder already on them. Pouring solder over it because that would burn out the LED strip if it's on there for too long, the contact. So I just heat up the solder on top of the wire that's on top of the LED, and that solders it together better. I've also had to cut and solder different LEDs together. So instead of using any wires to bring them together, I just use solder to put the two together. The first soldering iron and solder that I tried to use didn't work, so I had to go borrow this one from my uncle. But it works very well. This one is, you can change the temperature with a dial. It has its own rack, and he gave me this very thin solder that I could use, which works better because the LEDs are very thin. This looks a bit odd, but I didn't have the clamp that you need when you're soldering, so I just took one of those metal hangers, and I had a clamp, a craft clamp, and I duct taped it to the end. And I mean, it's obviously not the best looking, but it works well, and it didn't cost me any money.